What's up, everybody? Welcome into another Hoge and Jahns. That jerk, Kevin Fishbain. Look, everybody, it's Kevin Fishbain. He's back, or if you're listening, Kevin Fishbain is here. Say hi, Kevin.
Hey, everybody. Good to be back on the program.
But you're not the jerk. Adam Hoge is the jerk who is taunting us from a beach in Aruba, I believe.
It's right? A 15-yard penalty.
Oh, it's a game misconduct, right?
It's
like a warning. Game misconduct. Like, get out of here. He's got a shirt off. May have to do some shoulder shrugs. Wasn't impressed with the muscles there, but what a jerk.
Was he doing his best Jay Cutler impression?
Thank God he did it. Thank God. That was Jay Cutler from the Kristen Cavallari days, was it not?
It was. Yeah.
Was the naked pic with the shade? I don't want to remember it. I can't remember it, but I believe that's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. But we hope Hoge is enjoying his vacation. It was nice of him to say hello.
Yes. It was actually quite the product placement. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
So let's start with that. Check out the merch, the Hoge and Jahns merch at obviousshirts.com. You guys know the deal. I'm Adam Jahns. It's Kevin Fishbain. You can read us on theathletic.com. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. Adam Hoge, our friend, is on the beach somewhere in the Caribbean.
Undisclosed location.
Undisclosed location. I think he'll be back soon. It's cold and rainy here in Chicago, so he's missing that. But you can read him at NBCSportsChicago.com. Kevin Fishbain, welcome back. How was your vacation? Staycation.
Oh, it was good. You'll learn this, Johnsy, when you have kids. That vacations aren't really. It was errands and running around. When the child has learned to walk, which has now progressed into running, which is fun. But then it's a lot of chasing and whatnot. So I got some good workouts in. It was nice bonding time.
Don't tell me you're counting those steps as a workout.
Listen, if I don't tell my watch what steps to count. So, but no, we had a nice time. I enjoyed all the coverage from the Super Bowl. We've got look, we're 1 week from the moment that we're recording, pretty much. We're going to be hearing from Bears general manager Ryan Poles, and
for the second time,
and then Bears head coach Matt Eberflus. We got the combine coming up.
So we haven't heard from you in a while. I don't think you've talked about them since the introductions, since we had our little meet and greets with them off to the side. What were your first impressions? Give everybody your take on things at Hallis Hall.
Well, my first take, which I think you guys talked about, it was weird being in that room again, right? You're sitting there and it's just like deja vu all over again. And I felt and heard the words of our dear friend Jeff Dickerson being like, all right, guys, here we go again. We're back. But to take the cynical side out of it, I felt like both those guys is their first ever time doing something like that. There's going to be nerves. There's going to be some, awkward moments and stuff. But talking them off to the side, you started to get to know the passion for football. And I think you and I have done this long enough where everybody says he loves football, right? But when you talk to the people who know Ryan Poles and who know Matt Eberflus, which we've been doing for the past 6-7 weeks, it's like a different kind of passion for the game that they have and they exude, and we felt that talking to them a little bit off to the side, and I'm looking forward to getting some more from them next week. So no one knows if these guys are going to be any good, but I think, and you kind of hit it on the head in your story, you talking to Tony Dungy and Bill Polian, that you can see the direction the Bears are going with these two guys and what they're trying to accomplish.
Did you roll your eyes at the Hits philosophy? Because
100% I rolled my eyes at the Hits philosophy, but not because I disagree with the philosophy. It's just because I find, is that an acronym?
Yes.
I find those kind of funny, getting that from a football coach, but I get it. Like the philosophy I'm fine with. The whole acronym thing, I kind of roll my eyes at that stuff.
You just dislike acronyms.
Yeah, I just think I don't know. I find that stuff that could be kind of funny when we're talking about professional football players, but I wasn't rolling my eyes at the whole meaning behind it, and obviously it's worked, and that's what everybody, I was just rolling my eyes because I can be a jerk sometimes. So I like to goof around in there.
Noted jerk, Kevin
Yes.
Fishbain.
But I do.
On the podcast of Noted Jerk, Adam Hoge. Go on.
I think that Matt Eberflus would not have had the success he's had as a defensive coach with the players he's had and the teams he's been with if he could not get guys to buy into that. So obviously it's worked. Now, if he can get an entire team to buy in and how that works on the offensive side of the ball, we'll find out in the fall.
Well, that's a nice segue because the buy-in begins with your leaders. And what I want to do on this podcast is go over the Bears' long list of UFAs, unrestricted free agents, because some of those guys are their leaders or young guys potentially expected to be their leaders in the near future. They have a lot of interesting decisions to make. And I want everybody to go back and read your breakdown of the Bears' salary cap situation, where they have ample space to retool this roster if they want to in 1 year. But you were there, Kevin, when Ryan Poles says he's going to target the second and third waves of free agency. So since you're back on this podcast, it's been a while. You had that big salary cap breakdown of the Bears heading into this offseason. But we've also talked to Ryan Poles. Like, how do you feel about the potential spending or lack thereof that could be coming for the Bears?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because they have more cap space than you would think, but they also have so many spots to fill on the roster. I mean, you can't fill all those spots with rookies and undrafted, draft picks and undrafted guys. Like, you need veterans. You need to play. Like, when people talk about rebuilding in the NFL, it's hard for there to be really such thing. Like, you still want to be competitive. And there's enough good players on this team that they're going to try to be competitive this year, obviously. So, and the other thing that's going to be challenging for Ryan Poles is in the past 4 years or so, actually every year Ryan Pace has been GM, there have been 3 or 4 guys, no brainer, you cut them. You're going to clear a ton of cap space, and you're not going to have a bunch of dead money to deal with. It's been really straightforward, cut and dry. And he's never had to cut somebody because of the cap. Like, he's never been forced to. That finally happened last year with Kyle Fuller. Now, Ryan Poles comes in. There are not obvious answers. Like, you might look and say, oh, well, they don't need Eddie Goldman anymore. That's $5 million of dead money to $6 million of free cap space. That's not the proportion you're looking for. So he's got a lot of decisions like that to make over the coming weeks. And as you said, if he's not going to be looking to splurge, maybe he doesn't need to make all those cuts because, again, you got to fill the roster.
So let's start with this list. And I forget the exact number. But if you're listening right now, you could probably go to theathletic.com right now. And I have an article. I did this last year where I try to predict what's going to happen with the Bears UFAs. Last year at Allen Robinson, got that one right. He got the franchise tag. Last year you had Mitch Trubisky. I got that one right. I'm not patting myself on the back, but some of these you get a sense for going into the offseason. Like Mitch Trubisky, there was no way he was coming back. And I think with the combine
Trubisky,
around...
by the way, sorry to interrupt, Mitch Trubisky, 4th best winning percentage among quarterbacks since 2018, minimum 1,000 pass attempts according to NFL on CBS Twitter.
He's going to get another contract this year. Yeah. Like, there's going to be teams competing for... It's just...
Bears can get a backup quarterback?
Which is great. No, he's going to get semi-starting money out there. That's my prediction. But that's not... It's not a Bills report. Yes.
You were patting yourself on the back. I interrupted you.
Yeah, but we knew that where that was going.
Yes.
That he was not going to return to the Bears last year. I mean, they didn't pick up his 5th-year option. The opportunity for them to smooth things over had passed, and Trubisky was going elsewhere. But here we go, 2022. You want to go through this list?
Let's do it.
All right. I call these guys the headliners. Let's see if we're on the same page, Kevin. Allen Robinson, what's your prediction?
Gone. He will be playing elsewhere.
Do you think the Bears could convince him to take a 1 or 2 year deal with the hopes for him in getting a longer, more lucrative deal down the road?
I think they could. I just wonder if Allen Robinson wants to be a part of what the Bears are going to be the next 2 years, right? Like, you know, he saw something with this team when he came here. He also saw a lot of money when he came here in 2018.
He also was coming off a season where he was on injured reserve with the torn ACL.
Correct. So, and look, the 2018 team was good, and he excelled in that offense in 2019 and 2020 when nobody else did. And last year that just didn't happen. That he and Justin Fields just were not on the same page. And you know, could they spend an offseason getting there? Of course, but I wonder if the Bears are ready to go a different direction at that position, and if he wants to play with a team that he's more confident is going to be a winner next season. I don't think you can feel that way about the Bears.
How do you feel about the stories he's sharing on podcasts, or the way he's responding to tweets about how things played out with the Bears? Like, you've gotten to know Allen Robinson maybe better than some of us in the media. You did the long story on him a couple of years ago. How do you feel about how things played out with him in the end, whether it's his tweets talking about his targets going from 154, 151 to 66, or him sharing the story about Matt Nagy kind of no-showing at his own meeting at the end of the year?
Well, we know that wasn't the first time that former head coach had done that. Look, I mean, I think in our industry, Johnsy, we get into this back and forth, a little bit of a tug of war. We want honesty, right? Like, we crave guys to be honest. So I'm not going to sit here and diminish Allen Robinson for using those platforms to vent. I mean, he was obviously very frustrated last year. I think that there are also things that he probably could have himself done better during his time with the Bears, and he's also the type that would admit that. You know, he generally was upfront with us about plays he could have made. But you know, last year was really frustrating for him, and I get that. And I think again that just kind of leads me to believe that he's going to want a fresh start, even though he could get one with a brand new staff. I think he could just benefit from a change of scenery.
I think he hits the market.
Yeah.
And if I'm him, I try to link myself to a veteran quarterback. Maybe not like those playoff teams. It changes every year, but there could be like the Patriots or the Raiders. Well, that's not a veteran quarterback in New England, but you get my point. Like better teams with more proven quarterbacks. And if I'm him, I try to find that 1 to 2 year deal with a veteran quarterback with the hopes of, you know, turning that into something more significant down the road. Akiem Hicks, what's your pick?
You know what's funny, Johns, is I was going through Sheil Kapadia's top 75 free agents looking for interior D linemen because the Bears could use one. You know who the top-ranked interior defensive lineman free agent is?
Akiem Hicks.
Akiem Hicks. Now, the guy's been in a 3-4, but we know when he's out there in the nickel defense, we know what he can do with
He can push that pocket, yeah.
He'd be fine. So it's like weird because I feel like physically speaking, he could be exactly what they need. But when he was having those conversations with us about his time in Chicago being over, he knew this was going to be a new regime too. So I don't see him coming back.
But he had a falling out with that regime, we could say.
True, yeah, but I think he was talking as if his time with the Bears was done.
True. I think he hits the market too.
And also, like, if you're looking for a 3 technique, why wouldn't you get a guy who's 26, 27? And they do have defensive linemen. You know, they do have guys that are going to be back. So it's not, you know, they got to find that spot. They got to find that really good interior rusher. I just don't think I kind of like Allen Robinson. I think Akiem Hicks would benefit from being on a team that he knows is going to be in the playoffs.
Yes. He turns 33. He'll turn 33 during the season, during the 2022 season. When he plays, he's extremely dominant, quite the brute force. But he's missed, 20 games over the past 3 years? It's a lot of missed time. A lot of missed time. I think he hits the market. So let's stick with that position. I think this one's actually more interesting. Bilal Nichols.
You know, I was a little surprised that he didn't get re-signed last September. I thought you could get him for a discount. You could pat yourself on the back for finding a guy from Delaware in the 5th round who does everything you want on the field and off the field. And then he had a rough first half. I mean, he wasn't productive, and he was hurt, and he was frustrated. And then the last 6 games, he played really well. Not great, but I think he played well enough. The thing about that position, Johnsies, there's a lot of money that's going to get thrown around at defensive line. So it's just, are the Bears willing to give him? And I think he's very versatile too. So I think you can find a way for him to fit in this defense. I just don't know if they'll be willing to pay him. Now he's young, and again, he's an incredibly hard worker. He's the type of guy you want to have on your roster, but he's not the type of guy you need to have on your roster either. So I waver here. I think you have conversations, but you set a number, and you're probably not going to want to go over it.
I put down hits the market for my prediction, but I almost want to rephrase it to like test the market. He strikes me as a guy who will be allowed to go see what's out there and then come back to the Bears with that number to get a good gauge of what his actual value is on that free agency market. We've seen Ryan Pace before use that strategy. Who knows where Ryan Poles is going to go? We should also clarify that. Like, we don't know what Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus believe in terms of free agency. They could say one thing, but operate another. I think everybody around the league is waiting to see what they do with the money they have, which is a lot, and these young players.
Yeah, it's a brand new thing for us because we kind of started to learn the patterns and the types of guys that Ryan Pace would target, and we don't know how much of an overhaul these guys. I mean, it's possible they don't want to bring anybody back. Like they might really want to. Like, listen, Ryan Pace kind of gutted the roster in 2015. Maybe these guys are interested in doing the same. But we don't know.
And the reason, like, again, why we're going through this list, if you're reading this on theathletic.com or went through Kevin's salary cap breakdown from a week ago, is that there's going to be agents lining up to talk to the Chicago Bears in Indianapolis to get their feel for Ryan Poles, to get their feel for Ian Cunningham, to have a beer with Matt Eberflus, to see how their free agents fit, whether they're on the current roster right now or they're going to be free agents from another team. Everybody wants to get a feel for what the Bears are going to do because nobody knows. Nobody knows.
And as we said, as you alluded to, like, they have to sign guys. Like, they just have to fill the roster. So they're going to be forced to be active, even if it's in those second and third waves.
Yes. It's a new year, but it's feeling harder than ever to find and hire the qualified people you need, especially for small businesses. That's where LinkedIn Jobs comes in. They make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 770 million people. Focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience and use screening questions to get your role in front of only the most qualified. Then use the simple tools on LinkedIn Jobs to quickly filter and prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/Adam. That's linkedin.com/Adam to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, is your company or business having a tough time hiring the people you need? Doesn't matter what you're doing. It could be a coffee shop, retail, corporate. If you can't keep up with hiring, Workable helps all types of companies. There are 46% more jobs being posted than before the pandemic, and there are 44% fewer candidates applying to each one. So you need to find the right candidates and hire them fast, and Workable can help. Workable accelerates every step of your hiring process from finding to hiring. Workable helps you cast the widest net possible by posting your jobs to all the top job boards, more than 200 total with just one click. Whether you're hiring for your coffee shop or your engineering team, Workable is exactly what you need to hire the right people fast. Start hiring today with a risk-free 15-day trial. If you hire during that trial, which many do, it won't cost a thing. Just go to workable.com to start hiring. Workable is hiring made easy.
With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. HelloFresh has fit and wholesome recipes for satisfying and nutritious meals that you can feel good about. With 6 recipes per week to choose from, including low-calorie and carb-conscious options. Family-friendly and gourmet options, providing plenty of variety for you. HelloFresh cuts back on the time spent in the kitchen with meals ready in about 30 minutes or even less. I know for myself, I'm always trying to stay in shape and eat well, but also eat fast with a busy schedule. And HelloFresh fits my needs and also my family's. So go to HelloFresh.com/16Adam22 and use code 16Adam22 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. That's HelloFresh.com/16Adam22 and use code 16Adam22 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Let's move on to the player that I consider the most interesting UFA the Bears have.
Let me guess. Hold on. Patrick Scales.
Yes. What do you think happens?
I think bring him back. He's like 15 more seasons away from Pat Manley, right?
Yes. So let's knock those guys out, right? Like, bring back Pat O'Donnell and Patrick Scales. Let's keep the kickering battery together. I know you just re-signed a couple of guys. Do it for competition. Cairo Santos broke records by Robbie Gould, and we are getting way off subject from my most interesting UFA. But
I want a punter battle. I want a Pat O'Donnell versus Ryan Winslow punter
mega
competition.
punt, earn his job. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Who's your most interesting free agent?
James Daniels.
I knew it.
What do you do?
So here's somebody who could be looking at $10 million a year. It's a bloated market at guard, and he's young, right? He came into the league as a 20-year-old.
Turns 25 in September.
So this goes to Ryan Poles' view and vision for this offensive line, right? Like you and I, we talked to him. He did not see that nasty when he watched this team. Does he see James Daniels as somebody capable of that? You know, there's that great clip from the Raiders game, right? Where Daniels carried a guy and threw him on the ground. I don't know what Ryan Poles thinks of Daniels. We don't know what he thinks of Cody Whitehair and Sam Mustipher either. Like this whole offensive line, you could bring all 5 guys back at the positions they ended the season at with some competition, or you can have a total influx. I lean more to the latter because this is Ryan Poles' position, and he was been open about starting with the offensive line. So I don't know if they will see enough from Daniels to warrant the kind of money that Daniels might get.
Another layer to this. What if Ryan Poles and his scouting staff view James Daniels as center?
Yeah.
Is it too late for that switch?
I don't think so. I mean, like I had a problem with the previous staff and the way they move guys around. Like I will stand on the table and say that if Cody Whitehair stayed guard from the moment he got to the Bears, like he was supposed to, and to get moved the week before his first ever game, like he might be a Pro Bowler, might be a multiple time Pro Bowler. I think they really screw with him, and I understand these guys got to be versatile. You got to be ready to go. And they messed around with Daniels too. So I don't know. Again, that's an interesting thought because I do think you're going to. I would expect a new starting center next season.
I put down re-signed.
Yeah. Again,
and I was torn.
Some of these guys.
I had him at hits the market until 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. Again, you got to bring some of these guys back, and I think that James Daniels at his best is a maybe slightly above average interior lineman. And the thing about him is you just talked about, there's a lot of potential. There's room for him to grow and be a really good, consistent player.
I just think some of these guys have to return, right? Like, I know what you're saying. Maybe they don't want any of them, but
and by the way,
don't the odds say 1 or 2 have to return?
I think so. And by the way, when you talk about the guy having some nasty, you go watch James Daniels' end of season Zoom. His battle with one of our colleagues on the beat. Maybe he showed a little edge to him. Maybe Ryan Poles
actually
likes that.
I think that Zoom call, you can't find it. It doesn't exist on the Bears website. So now everybody's really intrigued, but it's out there. The audio is probably out there somewhere, but it does not exist on the Bears YouTube page. It does not exist. So let's run down through these other guys really quickly because I think the answers are pretty obvious.
Rapid fire.
Okay. Rapid fire. Andy Dalton.
Bye-bye.
Jimmy Graham.
Adios.
Deshaun Gibson. Note on this. He was re-signed last year, a month after free agency opened.
I was just going to say, I could see this being even after the draft, you know.
That is like, what, the fifth wave of free agency?
Right. Like, you have one safety under contract, correct? So...
Sorry, sipping coffee.
I think, like, I've written this before. Like, the fact the Bears never drafted anybody at safety after Eddie Jackson kind of burned them. They just don't have homegrown talent that they could try out at that spot, at that starting spot. So I think Deshaun Gibson's a possibility. If there's not somebody that they like, that they get in free agency that they want, you bring him in on a 1-year minimum deal and he competes to start.
The Colts, with Matt Eberflus, drafted their starting safeties.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a position to watch them. I think you got to get younger there.
Jermaine Ifedi.
He gone.
Jason Peters.
Same. Thank you for your contributions to 2021. Bears, Jason Peters. I mean, he was one of the best stories of the season, right?
You haven't seen what I wrote, but this is my analysis of the Jason Peters situation. And I don't mean to make lightly of this because the guy's had a Hall of Fame career, but let's not forget the man was on a boat when Juan Castillo called him and asked him to come and help out the Bears.
Hey, and by the way, we wrote about what Ryan Poles thought watching the offensive lineman not rushing to pick up Justin Fields. Jason Peters was always the one guy who generally would.
Yes,
he did everything. He did everything right, like you expect from a guy of his caliber. But
yes.
You're moving on there.
Here's my description. Jason, thank you for your service. Sign the Bears.
Yeah,
I think this is an interesting one too. Wide receiver, kick returner, Jakeem Grant.
I think you bring him back.
Yes, agreed.
I think you bring him back. I think Ryan Poles, coming from Kansas City, knows that you need dynamic guys like that on your team. I think we saw that from him in the Green Bay game. We saw what he can do as a returner. He probably should have been more involved in the offense. And he's not a free agent right now, but you have no idea what Tariq Cohen's going to be. None. You just cannot count on anything right now from him in that role. So I think, and you know what you're getting from Jakeem Grant. I think you absolutely re-sign him.
As a team, Ryan Poles, he did not, but as a team, the Bears have already invested in Jakeem Grant. They gave up, a 6th-round pick in 2023 for him? So if the deal is good, the deal is fair, keep the speed. Keep the returner. And like you said, you have no idea what you're going to get from Tariq Cohen because he missed the entire 2022 season. Marquise Goodwin.
I think you can bring him back on a flyer, right? I mean, he's not going to be in bidding wars, and you get the stretch the field guy, and you make him compete for a roster spot. You need receivers. You don't have any outside Darnell Mooney.
Damian Williams.
Running. I think that you're fine with Dan Montgomery and Khalil Herbert, and I wonder if that third running back is just gonna be more of a. Although Damian Williams was good on special teams, so yeah, I think you can bring him back on a minimum deal, and he competes for that job with a younger guy.
See, I have Goodwin and Williams both hitting the market, but that doesn't mean they don't return.
Right.
Because free agency, there's guys you sign before it. There's guys you sign as soon as it opens.
If I was looking at the list of free agents and I saw Damian Williams on there and Marquise Goodwin, they were not Bears last year, I would have said those guys, you could see the Bears targeting them.
Yes.
So, but because they already were here, maybe, again, this could be part of the new regime just wanting to start fresh as much as they can.
And plus, you have Khalil Herbert, who a lot of positives on that film.
Yeah. He had a very good rookie season.
But again, the extension of Damian Williams' play is he's an outstanding special teams player. Demir Bird, wide receiver Demir Bird.
I mean, I think of it similarly to Goodwin, right? Like if he's out there, you would bring him in as to compete, but I don't think he's a priority at all.
The interesting thing about Bird, I've always felt this, is coming off of the 2021 season. Sorry, the 2020 season. He has a breakout year for the Patriots. That doesn't turn into a big year in free agency for him.
Right.
Sound like a veteran minimum deal with the Bears?
Yeah.
We're talking about the
he
third
and
and fourth.
Goodwin are both 1 year minimum deals.
Yeah, all these guys are third and fourth waves of free agency.
Yeah.
They just are. Speaking of special teams, we talked about O'Donnell, we talked about Scales. But what about Christian Jones, Joel Beniwe, DeAndre Houston Carson? All core special teamers.
So Iggy's gone. I think he's posted that on social media. He's moving on. I think DeAndre Houston Carson seems like a guy that any special teams coach would want. And Richard Hightower was here in 2016 when DHC was here, the new special teams coordinator. So, and was he here when Christian? No. Did he overlap with Christian Jones? Either way, I think Christian Jones is also a guy that any special teams coach would probably want. And Christian Jones is position flexible enough that maybe he's someone that could be a nice backup on that defense. So I think both those guys would make sense as possible. Because, you got to you got to fill your special teams unit. And Matt Eberflus seems like the type of head coach, to make the Lovey comparison, that understands the value in special teams. So if you have guys like that, that might want to stay in Chicago, I think you find a way to keep them here.
There's a bunch of others. Deion Bush, Artie Burns, Alec Ogletree, Jesse James, Adam Redmond, Elijah Wilkinson. Ogletree stands out to me because he's your starting linebacker, but the Bears really caught lightning in the bottle on that. The guy was a free agent, came in to watch Robert Quinn's sister run in the Olympics, right? Is that how the story goes?
Yeah. I mean, again, he could be a linebacker. You need linebackers, right? Right now you have one guy who's going to be starting at linebacker next year.
Played on special teams for the first time in his career. So maybe.
Did you say Deion Bush in that list?
Deion Bush is on there.
Yeah, same thing. Like he's a solid special teams player. He can fill in at safety if you need him. But again, these guys have no connection to any of these players. None. So they could be getting their own version of Deion Bush from free agency and just totally overhaul this thing. I'll throw a name out there. Trenton Cannon led the 49ers in special teams tackles last year, where Richard Hightower was the 49ers
There you
special
go.
teams
Look,
coach.
there's a name. People are probably wondering, when do you throw out some names?
Trenton Cannon.
We'll do that on Thursday.
Yeah,
Kevin.
that's just a little sneak preview. How many people are going to be coming to listen to that knowing we'll talk about Trenton Cannon?
We'll do that on Thursday. Ryan Poles going to be a popular man in Indianapolis. No debating that. No?
Hopefully he's as excited to talk to the agents as he is to talk to us. Like all general managers are.
Yes. This is usually the point in the podcast where Adam Hoge asks me if I have any final thoughts. You got anything, Kev?
We've run out of time, Johnsy. That's my final
today.
thought.
Type 1 today. Read us, me and the Fishman on theathletic.com. Good little show there, Kevin. A lot of free agents, too.
I think we had more fun doing this podcast than Hoge had doing whatever he's doing on vacation. I'm going to go ahead and say that right now. Yeah. Take that, Hoagie.
Hopefully he gets sunburned on those shoulders. I'm just kidding. Read him, Adam Hoge, on the beach, NBC Sports Chicago. Check out the Hoge and Jahns merchandise at obviousshirts.com. We got that hat that Adam Hoge was wearing. Watch us on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. You know the deal. We're everywhere. Spotify, all that stuff. Thanks, Kev. Talk to you Thursday.
Let's do it again.
All right, everybody. See ya.
Anyway, who cares?